Hi, now we want to understand the importance of deoxyribonucleic acid DNA and ribonucleic acid RNA in storing genetic information in cells. So let's discuss first about the history of molecular biology. So that started, people say, with the discovery of DNA structure. So at the time in 1950s, James Watson, who is a young aspiring microbiologist, and 35 years old, Francis Crick, who is a physicist, they came together at the Medical Research Center in England. They proposed the most accurate, at the time, double helix model. And that laid out the start of molecular biology. And that paper came out in Nature in 1953 as about single page paper. And that gives rise to 9 years after Nobel Prize. And this is one of the biggest history as the start of molecular biology. And that story is fascinating. And I think you have to read about it. And one aspect of another one who got Nobel Prize together is Maurice Wilkins, who provided a critical experimental evidence by using X-ray diffraction pattern of the DNA crystal molecule. And for this, I'm sure many of you already have read. I introduced a number of references for this story. So Watson and Crick's structure for deoxyribonucleic acid. And this is the Nature paper I want to go through with you. And that's the meaning is the first correct double helix model of DNA. And there are a number of other references. Crick's double helix, a personal view. Let me see. So in Nature, this is an article. And double helix by Jim Watson. I put it here. So double helix is a personal account of the discovery of the structure of DNA, which is very interestingly written. And I also personally like to read Crick's book called What Mad Pursuit. This is a personal view of scientific discovery. You will realize Watson and Crick has a different background, different personality, different viewpoints. So that would be interesting. Another interesting book is called Francis Crick by Matt Ridley and the Discoverer of Genetic Code. So hopefully you can take a look at this book when you have a time. And let me just briefly, because this is such a historically important one, I want to go through with you a little bit. So this is a single page paper went to submit to the Nature, and that changes the biology fundamental aspectly. So the title is Molecular Structure of Nucleic Acid and a structure for DNA. Why is this such an important? In fact, Watson and Crick did not discover DNA. It was discovered years ahead. And there has been accumulated knowledge which indicates DNA as a very important material for genetic in heredity. So what they attack this problem is, hey, we have to understand the three-dimensional structure of DNA molecule. By knowing structure, it may lead to its function. And that is very important aspect. So hopefully you guys, when you start, find the topic of yourself, think about what's the most important problem at the field and attack that fundamental problem. So here, let's go through a little bit because it's interesting and it's relevant. A structure for nucleic acid has already been proposed by Pauling and Corey. Remember Pauling, Linus Pauling, who got twice of Nobel Prize, one for the discovery of these protein structures and the other for Nobel Peace Prize. And in fact, at the time, it was a competition between Caltech's Pauling group and MRC in England. And of course, this Watson and Crick was a very young scientist. But they have a friend who is a Pauling's son, who was at the time working as a postdoc at MRC, and through him, he actually know Pauling just proposed a structure of DNA in Proceedings of National Academy of Science, or PNAS, which is a prestigious journal, but they realized there's a glitch because Pauling proposed a triple helix model, which turned out to be wrong afterwards. So they say this structure is unsatisfactory for two reasons. And then what they instead propose is, instead of triple, they propose double helix model, so which is shown in here. And the structure has two helical chains, each coiled around the same axis in this diagram. And the novel feature of the structure is the manner in which the two chains are held together by the purine and pyrimidine bases. As I alluded to you before, there's a purine and pyrimidine. This is DNA base. And it has been found experimentally that the ratio of the amount of adenine to thymine, so AT, and the ratio of guanine to cytosine, GC, are always very close to unity, 1 for deoxynucleic acid. So this is a very key aspect at the time known. In fact, this is found by Shagaf, discovered by Shagaf, that why is A and T, the amount in DNA is almost the same, and G and C, the amount is almost the same. That gives a very important hint. But who made this utilization and then proposed a structure of DNA is Watson and Crick, and their contribution. And why this paper is such an importance has, because of this sentence, it has not escaped our notice that its specific pairing we have postulated. At the time, this is still postulation, immediately suggests a possible copying mechanism for the genetic material. So this is key aspect, a clue that why we inherit, why we look similar to our parents. And that goes down to down to down. Where comes this genetic information stored and being copied to next generation? And how our one single cell generate another cell which has the same imprint or blueprint. And we have also been stimulated by knowledge of general nature of unpublished experimental results and ideas of Dr. Maurice Wilkins. And there's a Dr. Rosalind Franklin, and she unfortunately has died from ovarian cancer at the early age of, I think, 37, who didn't get the Nobel Prize. So I urge you to a home exercise is go to this website and read the article of discovery of DNA structure and function, and Watson and Crick.